Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RavensCast. I'm with Graham, and today we're joined by former university player and current assistant coach at the NCAA level, Coach Bret Macdonald. Hey, Bret, how are you?
Doing well, Joven. Doing well, Graham. Thanks for having me here, guys.
So you guys already know how this goes. We're going to ask Bret a few questions about his past, who he is, so you guys get to know him. Then we're going to continue on just talking hoops, talking sports. You guys know the drill. So, Bret, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I am, yes, Bret Macdonald. I went to Terry Fox Secondary, like you young, fine gentlemen. Grew up in the Port Coquitlam area, went to Citadel Middle School, was supposed to go to Riverside, but I think we know why I went to Terry Fox and not Riverside, although, Riverside is still a great program for, women's basketball, women's volleyball, men's volleyball, and that. I think, men's basketball has been pretty dominant at Terry Fox, which is, why I went there. So I was fortunate to go to Terry Fox, played for Coach Chambers and Coach Van Oss. Chambers for 3 years, Coach Van Oss for 1 year at junior, and then Chambers for the 3 years. And then, was very fortunate to move on to the next level and play basketball at the University of British Columbia. Being a UBC Thunderbird was one of my goals once upon a time as a young grade 10. Watching them courtside, I still remember watching them play the Calgary Dinos in the Canada West Championship game. And I was like, wow, it would be pretty cool to play here in War Memorial one day. So, so after that went on and played there, and unfortunately ran into some injuries, had a couple concussions to say the least, and had to stop playing. I still have 3 years of eligibility left. At 28 years old, I could go back and go play another 3 years and graduate when I'm 31 playing basketball. I'm just kidding. I won't do that. But I was only able to play a couple years before, unfortunately, having some injuries. But so then hopped into coaching. Joven, as you said, been with Simon Fraser University now for 6 years, and been working with former Terry Fox head coach as well, Steve Hansen, and also a Terry Fox alumni back in the day too. So it's a little kind of 2 minutes or less on me. Hopefully it was 2 minutes or less.
Awesome. Graham, do you want to continue on?
Sure. We're just going to ask you a few questions here, Bret.
Yeah, no worries.
Who is one person outside of basketball?
Graham, before that. After guest life.
I don't know if I have that thing.
Should I do?
Yeah.
So Bret, awesome. Graham and I already knew most of that about the Terry Fox stuff, the SFU stuff. Obviously, I saw you at the SFU Futures Camp. Sorry, I forgot to say hi. So after that, like, what's happened ever since, like, after you became a player and after you stopped being a player? Sorry, like, we know you became a guest coach, but have you done any other stuff like outside of that? Like, I know you have the account Find Your Court Vision. That's you, right?
Yeah. So, have done multiple things. I've put my hands into a lot of different entrepreneurial activities. I love entrepreneurship, whether it's business, whether it's sports within business. So I have done, entrepreneur-like things. Court Vision is one of them. I've also worked in sales at, educational tech companies as well, and now currently going to be working at a financial tech company, a big one in Vancouver. So as much as basketball has been a big part of my life, and that I have been full-time at SFU in the past, right now I'm a little more part-time, just because my focus and efforts are elsewhere. So done a bunch of different things, and kind of landed me where I'm at here at 28.
Awesome. So diving into them a little more, do you want to talk about the ventures you've had? Like, I know you ran that basketball camp in June. Like, have you done any other stuff like that?
Oh, I have ran a lot of basketball camps in my life. I used to run a basketball academy called the Vancouver Basketball Academy. That was kind of my first thing after I stopped playing. I was running that, and then I was running that for about 6 months, and that's when Steve Hansen got hired as the head coach at SFU. And he called me and he said, hey, I'm going to be putting together my entire coaching staff, and I need guys who I can trust, are somewhat knowledgeable in basketball, had probably a pretty good playing career type thing. And and I want them in the program because I need to build something here. SFU was in a rebuilding stage. So Steve said, he asked me to come on board. He brought Sean Shook also on board, who was the athletic director and head coach of the Quest basketball program before they unfortunately had to kind of cancel their program and everything. So basketball has obviously been such a kind of main piece of everything I've done the last 6 years. Yes, I've ran camps. Yes, I've done different type of entrepreneurship things as well, and then also taken a step into a sales role as well, which is not necessarily basketball. It's still working with students, which I love, or kids and supporting them. But basketball's really been the focus, Joven. But now it's transitioning into another realm for me in my life.
Yeah, what is that other realm? Do you want to keep elaborating? I know you said you were comfortable talking about your future with what that.
Yeah, yeah, totally. So as much as I love basketball, and I know you guys love hoops, and there's a lot of people like basketball. It's something that I feel I've succeeded at as a player, as a coach. I feel like I've done pretty much everything that I've probably ever dreamed of doing. Being a part of an NCAA basketball program for 6 years. Sitting next to Mark Few while I'm recruiting. Seeing Tom Izzo while I'm recruiting, and then also playing at UBC. Those are some of kind of the goals I have, and I feel like I check those off. So for me, kind of the next big step for me is transitioning from basketball into a professional role, and it's sales for me. Sales is something that I would say I have passion for. I really like it, and it's something that if you do well, it compensates you well, and it's a little bit of something that what you'll get out of it as well. You're not really capped. If you're willing to, apply that work ethic that, you have into this role, you can be really successful and, move up the ladder, and then be able to, probably set yourself up and your family up for, good things down the road, financially, those types of things. So basketball has been great. It's just not something that, necessarily is going to make you the big bucks. Yes, there's very, few jobs in the basketball world that will really pay you the big bucks, but, kind of a compilation of things as to why I'm now transitioning, into the sales realm, or venturing into it again. So I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. This is the last question about this segment. When was your first experience in the sales world?
Yeah, it was it was 2 years ago for a company called Grant Me Education Consulting, and it was an ed tech company. We worked with students, lots of students across Canada, and they were the fastest growing educational tech company in all of Canada. And came on board, did really well. And throughout my time there, I was actually building, Court Vision as well. So when Court Vision got to the point of being able to step aside from Grant Me and follow that passion, that's why I moved, and went from Grant Me to Court Vision full time, also while coaching at SFU too.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right, now it's the good stuff. Graham, you want to lead us off?
Yeah, sure. Just gonna ask you a few questions about basketball, some life stuff, and who is one person outside of basketball that inspired you in life?
Definitely my dad. He's a former Division I baseball player, played for the Washington Huskies in baseball. But he's just, he's my dad. He's my best friend. He's someone who has, taught me right and wrong from a young age. He's someone who's taught me to be thankful for what I have, to be grateful. And he's just always been there for me. He's a very humble guy. He's a former TSN 1040 sports broadcaster here in Vancouver. But, he's definitely my biggest influence to this day. No matter what, no one comes even close. He's my best friend, and it's my dad.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Graham, you want to keep going?
Yeah. Has anyone in the sport of basketball inspired you in life?
Oh gosh, absolutely. You guys have 3 coaches right now that sit on your bench. Tony Scott, Rich Chambers, and Coach Don Van Os. All three of those guys have been major pieces for me in my basketball career as a player, as a coach, as a person. Tony coached me since I was in kindergarten. Tony coached me from when I was in kindergarten to grade 9. Coach Van Os had me grade 9. And then grade 10, 11, and 12, Richie had me, but Don was always around too. So those three guys are definitely my biggest influences in basketball as a player and as a coach. And then, Steve Hansen as well, somebody who I've coached alongside with, just a great person, great coach, someone who players just love to play for and battle with. So, between Tony, Don, Rich, and Steve Hansen, I would say those four are all kind of on my Mount Rushmore of coaches who have inspired
Mount
me.
Rushmore.
I like that, Mount Rushmore.
We like that. We like the Mount Rushmore. Leading into the Mount Rushmore, who is your favorite player of all time, and do you have a top 3? I
would say Steve Nash. I modeled my game after him, or tried to at least. Obviously, a 2-time MVP and just a heck of a player, but just a really good person too, right? He was someone that guys love playing with. There's that kind of crazy stat that he gave up 10,000 high fives a game, which that might be false, but even if it's half that, it's, just that kind of positivity and enthusiasm and, way he supported his teammates to just become the best that they could be. You look at all the players that played with him, they all had career years. Any guy who ever played with Steve Nash, he just made them better on the court, and I assume off the court as well. So Nash would definitely be number 1. I like LeBron. I like how he plays the game of basketball.
Yeah.
He's a good person. He's done, from someone who came from a single parent, and what he's grown up to do, and never do anything bad. Realistically, the worst thing he ever did was go on national television and do the decision show with the ESPN, Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade. But at the end
You
of the
didn't
day,
like the show there? You didn't like the show voting there?
It was for charity.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Well, hey, if it's for charity, then awesome. But just considering he's been in the limelight since he was about 15 years old, he's never done anything wrong. Yes, people love to hate on people who are super successful. It's the easiest thing for people to do. You find someone successful and try to point out their flaws. But LeBron's been pretty good. And do I have a third favorite player? Good question. Nash, LeBron. I used to love Kobe back in the day. I loved his work ethic. I loved what he stood for. He worked harder than anyone. He was so competitive. He wanted to kill you every single time. I didn't necessarily love Kobe like when I got older, but I did really like him when I was young and that. So, let's just say Nash and LeBron, and number 3 is probably a toss up between 5 to 10 other guys.
Okay.
Awesome.
And then who do you think the greatest player of all time is, or top 3?
Yeah. Ooh, I knew you guys were going to ask me this question. Of course, it's the most.
It's the most cliche question.
It's the most debated question. Yeah. So, you have Michael Jordan, you have LeBron James. Obviously guys like Magic Johnson, Kobe, Shaq, Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Russell. All those guys are also, heck of players. But you look at Jordan and you look at LeBron, and it's pretty hard to justify one over the other and vice versa. I would say both of them are 1A and 1B. If LeBron can somehow win another title, or actually win 6, pretty tough to argue that anyone is better than LeBron if he ties Jordan with titles, but then leads every other statistical category: points, assists, rebounds, steals, yada 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 yada. List goes on. If LeBron retires today, finishes with 4 championships, 3rd all-time scoring, top 25 in rebounds, top 15 in assists, top 15 in steals, top 25 in blocks, I would probably have to say Michael Jordan, but LeBron might have another 5 years left in the tank. Could he win 1? Could he win 2? Potentially. He hasn't really slowed down. Yes, he's not as athletic as maybe he once looked like, but you still look at his stats and the guy's averaging 20, 25, 8 and 7. So, but I love Jordan too. So, I was young when Michael Jordan obviously played, essentially barely born, but I think both of them are, just great in their respective eras.
Awesome. So, what do you think? This is just building off that because you named a bunch of guys. One of those guys is Kobe. Why do you think like people like because Kobe? I remember like looking back before he passed away, right? Rest in peace. Before he passed away, he was always top 3, top 4, top 5, right? Do you think he's in that realm, or do you agree with the people who like say he's not top 5, he's not even top 10?
Well, I definitely think he's top 10. Top five. You're essentially looking at players 3, 4, and 5 because 1A and 1B are,
Yeah,
Jordan and LeBron. You know, Kobe wins 5 titles, a three-peat. Yes, Shaq was in his prime for say 3 of those titles, and Shaq was as dominant as ever. Now, the Lakers wouldn't have won without Shaq. The Lakers wouldn't have won without Kobe. So it's really hard to kind of argue who meant more to that. What would a Kobe's career look like without Shaq? But then he goes and wins, a couple more with Pau Gasol as well, who's a Hall of Fame big. And other than that, he had guys like Andrew Bynum and some other pieces, of course, with Meta World Peace or Ron Artest. But I would say Kobe is a top 10 player of all time. I think once again, because of his demeanor and that, some people like to hate on him, including, ESPN never probably given him the love that he should receive in terms of a top player ever. But to me, it's pretty hard to argue that Kobe Bryant is not a top 10 player of all time, regardless of him teaming up with Shaquille O'Neal or not.
yeah. All right. So we'd like to move on, and this is more about your career now. Who is the best player you have ever played against?
Yeah, good question. I played a guard at Saskatchewan. His name was Jamel Barrett. He completely torched me, and he had a G League workout with the Sacramento Kings the year after. Heck of a player, kind of impossible to guard for me. He definitely is, one of the best players for sure. I would say a teammate of mine at UBC, Connor Morgan, 6'10". He plays for Team Canada as well. When they have kind of their B list of guys, not like he's a B list type player, but when all the NBA guys don't go, he's one of those guys that's always on the team and getting the call. And he plays pro in Spain as well. And he's a heck of a player. He's a fringe NBA guy right now. It's kind of like, does he want to make more money in Europe, or does he want to try to go to the G League, make less money, and then work his way up? So, and he was a teammate of mine at UBC. In high school, I would say playing against Merritt Klassen, he was a heck of a point guard at Yale. I was grade 11, he was grade 12, and he was just a competitor. He's still, having great success overseas and in Europe right now. He's in Poland. So he was a great player too, but I would definitely say Jamel Barrett. He was one. Connor Morgan, and then I played a game against Kelly Olynyk, kind of. It was actually at the Legal Beagle when I was a grade 10. We played them in the semifinals. It was a sold out crowd, probably 2,000 people there. No one else could get in. People were standing on the baseline. It was a really cool game. So, I guess looking back at it, Kelly Olynyk would be the best, hands down. And then, Connor and Jamel Barrett were pretty good too.
What grade was Kelly at the time?
He was grade 12.
Oh, grade 12. Oh, you guys win?
We lost by 5. We were up late. I hit a big 3 with about 3 minutes to go. We were in, that 1-3-1 zone that we like to play, and the shot clock was running out, and Kelly ended up getting like a loose ball and like picking it up, and he like shot like a 40-foot 3 and hit nothing but net to I think tie the game when we were up 3, and I think we went down, missed. They went down, scored, and yeah, they ended up beating us by 5. But it was a heck of a game.
Graham, you want to ask the next question?
Sure. Who is one player you wish you played with?
Like on your team?
Yeah.
Any NBA, anybody?
Oh, if I could pick anyone?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think playing with Steve Nash would be fun. However, we're kind of in the same position. However, I'd probably get a lot of open shots playing with him. LeBron as well. Just the the amount of double teams and just people that gravitate towards them. You'd probably have a lot of fun as a guard as well. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I've never really thought of that. I think playing with like a really good rolling big as well, who can set good screens and roll would be a lot of fun too.
Shaq, Giannis.
Yeah, basketball's a little different. Giannis is like a 1 to 5 sometimes these days. Sometimes he's the one getting the ball screen. But yeah, I would say Nash, some big rolling big, or LeBron.
Awesome. All right, and kind of following up with that, another hypothetical one. Who is one player? This can be anyone that you wish you had the chance to 1v1 in your prime, like the best day of your life playing basketball.
Like, are you wanting me to say like a NBA guy, or
You
want
can
me to
say whoever
like
you want. Just one guy, you'd be like, if I busted this guy's ass, that would be like the best thing.
Oh man, I think probably to play. Sorry, say that again.
No, it's nothing. No. If you got to break him.
Oh well, I think to just play Kobe Bryant 1-on-1 and get beat really bad every single time, and just know how much better you're going to get, and just to see that guy's competitiveness and how much he wants to kill you. Although he beat me probably 100-0 flat. It would just be probably it would be an honor, obviously, to play a guy like that, but also just to see the way that he wants to essentially pick you apart and kill you. As like bad as possible, right? He just wants to beat you as bad as possible. So playing against Kobe 1-on-1 would probably be a lot of fun, even though I'd be on the receiving end of a lot of baskets.
Yeah. Okay, so like that you picked an NBA guy, because that brings us to our next question. What is the greatest team in NBA history?
Some of these Warrior teams recently with Durant and Clay and Steph and Draymond are, up there. Obviously, the Bulls going 72-10 and also winning the championship. It's going to be between one of those teams. Obviously, Kobe and Shaq had some really good teams in the early 2000s. Miami with Wade and Bosh and LeBron obviously had some really good teams. The Spurs had some good teams with Parker, Young Leonard, Ginobili, Tim Duncan. But I'd have to say one of these Golden State teams recently with Durant, or the Bulls. The 72-10 Bulls.
If you were to bet on one, who would you feel more comfortable betting on between them?
Yeah, that's a tough question, because the world and the game and the eras are so different. No one's going to stop Michael Jordan. He's going to do well. No one's going to stop Kevin Durant. Realistically, no one on the Bulls is going to be able to stop Steph Curry. Could a guy like Michael Jordan guard Klay Thompson? Yes, he could. Draymond Green, he's a heck of a player, but he's also great because he's surrounded by so many guys. Dennis Rodman would guard Draymond Green, and I think he would do totally fine. Obviously, both very kind of undersized like guys with a ton of energy and talk a lot of smack. So you kind of have a Draymond, Steph, Clay, Durant versus a Pippen, Jordan, Rodman on paper. Golden State has, I would say, 4 good players on paper. The Bulls have 3 really good players. Both. Steve Kerr playing for the Bulls, Phil Jackson coaching the Bulls, Steve Kerr coaching the Golden State Warriors. Gosh, that's a tough one. In the era back then, I would say the Bulls would win, just because it's played different. It's way more physical. And this era, just with the 3 ball and everything, I would say Golden State would win. Might not be giving you your answer because I'm kind of giving it a coach's analytical or kind of overview of dissecting both the teams.
Awesome. All right, and moving into one of our final question of the day.
Yep.
What college team in NCAA Division I history had the best tournament run? Like, maybe not the best, but just the most memorable. Like the one where it's like the first one that pops in your head. You're like, that team would beat any other team.
Well, I was going to say Butler in 2010 against Duke when Gordon Hayward rimmed out from half court to lose. Butler had a heck of a run. You know, they had Matt Howard was an undersized post, a guy named Sheldon Mack. He was a heck of a guard, and then Gordon Hayward with Brad Stevens coaching. That was a fun Butler team to watch. They were, not from a huge conference. They were, I believe, a 4 seed at the time, or maybe a 5 seed. And they went up against Duke in the final with Nolan Smith, John Shire, who are both assistant coaches at Duke now, the Plumlee brothers, Kyle Singler. And that was a really, really, really good college basketball team that Duke had that year. So I think watching Butler was great. Obviously, there's been some Cinderella stories. George Mason years ago making a heck of a run at it. Probably some other recent years that I can't remember as well. But when I think of a really good run, I would say that Butler team in 2010 playing Duke in the final, just rimming out of a national championship.
Yeah, I saw that post, I think yesterday on I don't know, it was on a basketball account, but yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Graham, you want to finish this off?
I was just going to ask him, do you have a favorite NCAA double team that you root for every year?
NCAA.
NCAA, sorry.
No, you know what? I like teams that are well coached. I like watching Gonzaga. I think they're obviously very well coached and how they run stuff. I like watching Duke as well. I'm a Washington Huskies fan because my dad went to Washington. So I've been a Huskies fan since I was a younger kid, large part due to my dad going there as well. But no, I don't necessarily have a favorite team, whether it's the NBA, NCAA. I'm a spectator. I like to watch basketball. I like to watch good basketball. I like to observe good actions, good movement, good screening, teams that compete, teams that play hard, teams that move the ball and play the right way. So I never really have a favorite team. Obviously, when it gets to March Madness, there's a couple teams that, you like more than others, but I don't have a hoodie in my closet that says like this team is my favorite type thing.
Awesome. And then moving on, just the last thing before we wrap it up. What is a metaphor you would use to tie basketball with anything?
Yeah, probably something along the lines of basketball and/or sports is a vehicle that'll drive you kind of throughout life. It's the lessons you guys learn through sports, the people you meet, the hours that you put in that are unseen, that are not paid, that are hard, that are grueling. Basketball is just such a vehicle for, success in life. We're talking basketball, so I'll use basketball, but sports, is also a vehicle for, just life and what life's going to throw at you. You guys obviously are playing for coaches who are tough, but, they're getting you guys ready for what's going to happen in the real world. Graham or Joven, you guys get a job and you're not doing what you were hired for. Chances are your boss or your manager will get on you, will yell at you, and will tell you that you have to be better. And that's exactly what basketball and sports does as well. It prepares you for those things. It prepares you to fight through adversity. It prepares you to get up early in the morning sometimes, or to go to bed later because you have to work harder on your shot, on the in the weight room, on your cardio. So, it sounds cliche a bit, but basketball really is like, a tool and a vehicle that'll drive you guys to be successful, hopefully, in life. And I would say just being involved in sports and also being involved in like the professional working world as well. You see people who are ex-athletes, whether they played middle school, high school, Pac West, junior college, CIS, U Sports, Division II, Division I. A lot of the times those are pretty employable people and successful people in their roles outside of sport due to the lessons that they've learned in sport.
Awesome. Graham, do you want to do the
outro? Sure. Thank you, Bret Macdonald, for your time with us on the RavensCast. We hope to speak to you in the future and wish the best of luck to you in your life in the future too. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it, Graham and Joven, and thank you guys for having me.
Thank you for coming on. We appreciate your time.
You bet.